Welcome back to Decked Out.
On today's episode, we are joined by Maldhound for another very special Bloomburrow episode. Today, each of our players has upgraded their Bloomburrow deck with all of the bells and whistles from the Bloomburrow set.
As always, thank you to our sponsors, Tales of Adventure, Moxfield, and Ultimate Guard, and today's episode sponsor, Elgato. But more on them later in the video.
That's enough from us for now. Let's go ahead and see what our players did to upgrade their decks.
Hello everyone, my name's Maldhound. You can find me all over the internet, touching cards, attempting to touch hearts, but most importantly, telling you whether or not I'd touch your commander's parts. I'm here today playing Bello, Bard of the Brambles, who does Gruul Stompy, but with non-creature artifacts and enchantments. However, having played this deck before, I only have one real goal in mind, and that is to resolve the rolling ham sphere, which VeggieWagon so rudely prevented me from doing at our last meeting.
I'm Airball, and today I'm playing Zinnia Valley's Voice. Once again, we're trying to use and abuse the offspring mechanic. For today's upgrade video, I needed some cool cards, not just any will suffice. I didn't bring a brew, but I brought a little spice. The weaknesses of the deck after the last game were pretty apparent. Once I put all of my stuff out on the board, I didn't really have a way to recover after a board wipe, but if I didn't put all my stuff on the board, I couldn't win. So I tried to make the deck a little more nimble. I brought in cards like Valley Floodcaller and Dawn's Truce to make it so that I can play on my opponent's turn, and maybe even trigger my commander on my opponent's turn as well. And as a little extra insurance, I brought in Jackdaw Savior to make sure that if my board does get wiped, I get something back from the graveyard basically right away.
I'm VeggieWagon, and I'm here to spread the love once again with Miss Bumbleflower. But with some upgrades from Bloomburrow, I'll have bigger payoffs for helping my opponents out, and maybe even some ways to completely negate the bonuses that I'm giving to them.
Hello everybody, I'm MTGNerdGirl, and today for our Bloomburrow upgrade episode, I am once again piloting Hazel of the Root Bloom. I needed to add a few things to spice this deck up. I was really having trouble with interaction and card draw in the last game. So I did just that. I added a bunch of cards that will allow me to sort of recover easier from board wipes than I did last time. We'd like to thank today's episode sponsor, Elgato.
This Spanish cat can upgrade your spell table setups with premium cameras and other equipment. I'm not really sure how it can do it, but it can.
Spanish cat.
Yep. Elgato?
Veggie. Elgato is a company, not a cat. They provide the best PC accessories for your at-home work setup, spell table, or streaming.
Well, I don't speak Spanish. How was I supposed to know that?
Did you read the prompt?
No.
All right, well, if you guys would like to support our show, please show some love to today's episode sponsor, Elgato, by clicking the link down below in the description and checking out all of the upgrades you could get for your setup.
And now we can see all the little Elgatos in our Bloomburrow game. Let's go.
Welcome to the table. Let's see who goes first. 2.
11?
8?
Also 2.
Oh my god.
All right. I'm gonna start with this Temple of Enlightenment, and I'm gonna scry 1. That's gonna stay on top, and I'll pass.
Temple of Mystery. I will scry 1. And we'll leave that on top, and I'll pass.
I don't know, fixing our mana, turn 1. I play a forest. I tap it just to be like everyone else, and I pass.
I'll play a Tranquil Thicket, a tapped land that's not as cool. Pass.
Yeah, whatever. Here's a mountain, and we're gonna pay 2 for Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive. It's a 1/3, and it says the creatures I control with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. And I'll pass.
Play an Exotic Orchard. Thanks for the white mana. Turn to Quain, Itinerant Meddler.
Okay.
Tap, each player may draw a card, and then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. I'll pass turn.
I have Grothama and 8 mana worth of ramp in my opening hand. The only problem is I have literally nothing else to spend it on. I need to hope that the top card of my library is perfect. I was saying this deck could use more card draw. This is fine. I'm gonna play a mountain, and I'm gonna tap 2 for Wandertail Mentor, which is a raccoon bard that says whenever I expend 4, I put a +1/+1 counter onto it. So every time I spend my 4th mana in a turn, I get to put a +1/+1 counter on him. He taps for a red or a green, and because he has the exact same creature types as my commander, he has all of his abilities as well. I'm pretty sure. And then I'll pass.
I don't think that's the way it works.
Hey.
My land for turn will be a Mudflat Village. It taps for colorless or I can tap it for a black, only to cast creatures. I can also sacrifice it to return a bat, lizard, or rat, or squirrel from my graveyard to my hand. And let's just start with a Golgari Signet. I'll pass.
This is an uncomfortable play to have to make, but we'll start with the Thriving Isle. I'll name white, so this can tap for blue or white. And then we're going to pay 2 for Jacked Rabbit, X equals 0. It's a 1/2 with Ravenous, which means it would enter with X +1/+1 counters on it, and if X is 5 or more, draw a card when it enters, and then when it attacks, I make a number of 1/1s equal to its power. I was really torn about playing the Jacked Rabbit. On the one hand, it's a win condition, and I can cast it for a massive X later in the game and hopefully take out the table, but it's also kind of useful for it to keep its 1 power so that it buffs my commander and gets the benefit of Tetsuko so it can attack freely, so I think it was worth playing there. So sucks to play it for X equals 0, but tempo matters. And speaking of, I'm gonna swing Tetsuko over at Maldhound.
We're good time girlies.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna send Tetsuko over at NerdGirl.
Oh my god, it worked.
How am I the only one at this table that's not a good time girly?
It worked.
I'll give you some time to reflect on that, and I'll pass.
I'm gonna play a Temple of Plenty and scry 1. I'm gonna leave that on top. And then, what if everybody drew a card?
Oh, hey.
It's your choice, of course.
I'll take it.
And if you take it, gain a life. I'm gonna pay 2 for a Coiling Oracle. When it enters, I reveal the top card of my library. If it's a land, it goes to the battlefield, otherwise into my hand. It is a forest. We're gonna put that right there on the battlefield. And pass turn.
I'm gonna play a mountain. I will tap 2 to play a Mind Stone, and then I will tap the remainder of my mana to cast Bellow, Bard of the Brambles.
Whoa.
Bellow is a 3/3 raccoon bard, and during my turn, he turns all of my non-equipment artifacts and non-aura enchantments that have mana value 4 or greater into 4/4 elemental creatures that have indestructible haste, and whenever they deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. I do not have any of those yet, but I do have a disturbing amount of mana in play, and since I spent my 4th and 5th mana to cast Bellow, I will get a 1/1 counter on to Wandertail Mentor.
You're telling me that you played Magic the Gathering?
I
and you're
played-
being rewarded for it?
Sequencing. You guys, if I had cast Bellow first, no Mind Stone, no Expend. That's literal weeks of limited gameplay coming through in this table right now.
Just the fundamentals, baby.
Pass.
I'll play a Woodland Cemetery for my land for turn, and I will pay 3 to cast a Squirrel's Nest. Enchant land has I can tap to create a 1/1 squirrel. I'll put that onto my Tranquil Thicket. Pass.
I think we're just gonna start jacking. I'm gonna go to combat, and I'm gonna send the Jacked Rabbit NerdGirl's way, and I'm gonna keep Tetsuko home. So when Jacked Rabbit attacks, I'm gonna get my trigger, I'm gonna make 1 rabbit. Post-combat, I'm gonna pay 2 for a Loyal Warhound, and Veggie solved my problem by putting an extra land into play. When he enters, if an opponent controls more lands than me, I get to search for basic plains, put it onto the battlefield tapped. All right. So there's my plains, and in an eerily similar vein to the last game, I'm also gonna miss my land drop and pass the turn.
I'm trying to help you out here.
I know, I thought there was no way I wouldn't draw a land in like those 3 draw steps.
Most honest Jeskai player I've ever seen.
I'm gonna try and help you out a little bit more then.
Okay.
I'm gonna play the Seaside Citadel as my land for turn. I will pay 2 for an Arcane Signet, and then I'll pay 3 for this new card, Communal Brewing. It's an enchantment. When it enters, any number of target opponents each draw a card. I put an ingredient counter on it for every card drawn this way. Whenever I cast a creature spell, it enters with X additional counters on it, where X is the number of ingredient counters on Communal Brewing.
Holy.
Oh, okay.
The best hug is an aggressive hug. At least in the case of Communal Brewing, because everybody gets a card, and in exchange, I get massive creatures for the rest of the game. So I'm gonna go target, 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 everybody draw a card,
Well, it's everybody May, right?
No.
Oh, it's not a May?
It is not a May.
Okay.
All right then.
It's the worst potluck ever.
I will pass the turn.
Sure you will. Thank you. I will play a land for turn. I will tap 5 mana for a Gilded Lotus. 3 mana of any one color. This is also going to trigger my expend 4 clause. And then, main phase 2, I will tap Gilded Lotus and Wandertail Mentor to cast Tender Wild Guide with their Offspring cost. This is a mana dork that can either tap to add 1 mana of any color or tap to put a +1/+1 counter on itself, and now I will have 2 of them thanks to the power of childbirth. Nobody worry about how much mana is on this board. It's a totally fair and cool amount, and I pass.
My land for turn will be a Fountain Port. It taps for colorless. I can pay 2 and sacrifice a token to draw. I can also pay 3 and a life to create a 1/1 blue fish token, and I can pay 4 to create a treasure token. Then I'm gonna cast my commander, Hazel of the Root Bloom. He's nuts.
Oh, the pain in my chest.
She's a 3/5 that I can tap and pay 2 life to tap any number of untapped tokens and create that much mana. Also, at the beginning of my end step, I get to create a copy of a token. If that token is a squirrel, instead I get to create 2 tokens. And then I will tap my squirrel nest to indeed make a squirrel.
Ooh, squirrel.
Lots of squirrels. And then I'll move to my end step, Hazel will trigger, and I will actually get 3 total squirrels, 2 from Hazel's ability. It's a squirrel party. Pass. I'm having a little bit of a slow start compared to the last game, but aristocrat formats oftentimes have a pretty slow start, and then you sort of build up this massive board that your opponents will have trouble dealing with. So I'm hoping that's what's going to happen in this game.
All right, I'm gonna start with this Exotic Orchard, and then we're gonna go ahead and pay 5 for Echoing Assault. It's an enchantment. Creature tokens I control have menace, and whenever I attack a player, I can choose a target non-token creature that's attacking that player, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except that it's a 1/1. Token enters tapped and attacking that same player, and then it gets sacrificed. Let's go to combat, and I'm going to send the Jacked Rabbit and the Loyal Warhound and the other normal rabbit at Veggie. We're gonna get a trigger on Echoing Assault. I'm going to make a copy of the Jacked Rabbit. That will come in tapped and attacking. It will not attack, so I don't get its trigger. And then the Jacked Rabbit will also trigger, and I'll get another Summoning Sick Rabbit. So it's a grand total of 6 power coming your way, Veggie. Unblockable, all of it.
Yeah.
And at the end of my turn, the copy of Jacked Rabbit will get sacrificed. And then I'll pass to you.
Well, for that, why don't you draw a card?
That'll show me.
And gain a life about it.
Everybody can do that.
Oh, not you again.
I'm gonna decline to draw a card.
What?
Huh?
He's not about that life. I'm gonna play a Reliquary Tower, and then let's get ready to bumble.
I'm so angry.
I'm going to cast Miss Bumbleflower.
Oh heavens!
Acceptable.
She's a 1/5 with Vigilance, and when I cast a spell, target opponent draws a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, it gains flying until end of turn, and if this is the second time this ability has resolved, then I draw 2 cards. She is going to enter with 3 +1/+1 counters, thanks to all of you to contribute to the brew. I'll be nice, and we'll have everybody draw a card now. I will pass the turn.
Yeah, I'll just be a little belligerent. I'm gonna tap 5 for, you know him, you hated him last time, Berserker's Onslaught. It's a 5 mana enchantment that gives all of my attacking creatures double strike, and notably is currently an indestructible 4/4 with haste and a combat damage trigger.
Good time, girlies, right?
Best time, boys.
Yeah.
Notably, since this is 5 mana that will once again trigger expend 4, and I will get a third +1/+1 counter onto Wandertail Mentor. Well, here's the thing, right? Viewers at home, you know me. You know what NerdGirl has done to me on many occasions. You know what Veggie's done to me mere moments ago. So who am I to kill with hammers except both of them? So I'm gonna move to combat. I'm going to swing Berserker's Onslaught at NerdGirl and Gilded Lotus at VeggieWagon. So that is a 4/4 with double strike coming at each of you.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I will throw one squirrel into the meat grinder.
How much you care about that Coiling Oracle, Veggie? You have plans for him?
I have plans for him.
You have plans for the Coiling Oracle?
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna block with Miss Bumbleflower.
Whoa.
You're gonna let Miss Bumbleflower, okay. So if you block with Miss Bumbleflower, assuming Veggie has not a single trick up their sleeve, she will die. All right, let's move to
First strike damage?
first strike damage. Yeah, first strike damage. They'll deal 4 to Miss Bumbleflower.
Dealt. Squirrel dies?
Squirrel is dead.
Squirrel dies.
Now, before regular damage,
Okay.
we will see that I simply I risked my entire commander just to kill one squirrel. I'm gonna pay 3 for a generous gift and target Bellow.
All right, so Bellow will allegedly die.
Yeah. And I'll have a trigger. Since I cast a spell, an opponent draws a card. I think I'm gonna give this one to Airball.
Okay.
You're missing your land drops. That's terrible. Nobody likes that. We'll put another counter on Miss Bumbleflower. Okay.
All right. In my main phase 2, I'm going to tap both of my Tender Wild Guides to pay for a Gruul Signet. And then I'm going to tap my Wandertail Mentor to pay into Gruul Signet to cast Steve, the Sakura Tribe Elder. I can sacrifice Sakura Tribe Elder to search my library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. And then I will pass the turn.
My land for turn will be an Oak Hollow Village. It taps for colorless. I can also tap it for green for a creature. I can pay a green, tap it, and put a +1/+1 counter on all frogs, rabbits, raccoons, and squirrels that enter the battlefield this turn. I will start with Azulaport Cutthroat. Whenever he or another creature I control dies, each opponent will lose a life and I'll gain a life. And then I will play my own caked up creature, the Honored Dry Leader, a 1/1 squirrel with trample that says when it enters, it gets a +1/+1 counter for each other squirrel and food token I control, which is currently 3. And whenever another squirrel or food enters the battlefield, I get to put an additional counter on it. And then I'll move to my end step. Hazel will trigger, targeting my squirrel, which will actually net me 2 more squirrels, making Caked Up Squirrel go up to 6. Not bad. I'll pass.
All right. We're going to keep jacking away. We're going to send the Jacked Rabbit and the Warhound at Veggie, and we're going to send these 2 rabbits at NerdGirl, and what the hell, Tetsuko as well at NerdGirl. We are going to get an Echoing Assault trigger. I'm going to choose to make a copy of the Loyal Warhound. It's going to come in tapped and attacking Veggie. And I will get a trigger, and because Veggie has more lands than I do, I'm going to get to search for another basic plains and put it into play. So there's the plains, and go ahead and block away.
No blocks. We can't block.
Can't block.
Right.
1, 2, 3.
In combat, I would have also gotten a Jacked Rabbit trigger, so I'd get another rabbit. So we have 1 untapped rabbit and 2 tapped. All right, then we'll pay 3 and have Zinnia Valley's Voice come out and play. It is a 1/3 flyer. It gets +X/+O, where X is the number of other creatures I control with base power 1, and creature spells I cast have offspring 2. I'm gonna play this Evolving Wilds as my land for turn, and I'm gonna pass.
Oh my god, he's
Optimal
holding
play.
out the Evolving Wilds. This dude's a killer.
The fundamentals.
This dude's got bodies.
On my end step, the copy of Loyal Warhound will get sacrificed. And I have to discard the hand size on my end step. I'm going to discard this Lupin Flower Village.
Even though you have kept denying my gifts, or trying to, I finally set you up to give back.
Yeah, I feel like I owe it to you.
Last game, all of my hugs were for Maldhound, but this game, they're all for Airball, because he is the only player ahead of me in turn order, and I need him to hit some specific conditions for me to get some big benefits. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna pay 1, 2, 3, 4 for Beza, the Bounding Spring. Jeff Beza enters. I create a treasure token if an opponent controls more lands than I do. Airball. I gain 4 life if an opponent has more life than I do. Airball. I create 2 1/1 blue fish creature tokens if an opponent controls more creatures than I do. Airball. And I draw a card if an opponent has more cards in hand than I do. Airball. So that is 1 treasure, 4 life, 2 fish, 1 card. That also is gonna do a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm gonna put 3 counters on Beza because of the communal brewing. I will also get a Miss Bumbleflower trigger. Errol, you know what? Take the card. You've helped me out a bunch, and I'm hoping that will dissuade you from continuing to hit me with all of your unblockable stuff.
We'll see.
I will put a +1/+1 counter onto, sure, Coiling Oracle, and it flies this turn. Then I will pay 2 for Jolly Gerbils. It's a 2/3. Whenever I give a gift, draw a card.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you meant it's a 5/8.
Oh, yeah.
Because Magic's a fair game, and he let us draw 1 card each. It's a 5/8 for 2 mana.
You're getting +1/+1 counters for
what
playing
you're
the
talking
game.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm gonna put
Expend
these
is a fair
3
mechanic
on here.
when I'm playing it.
That'll be the second time Miss Bumbleflower has triggered, so I will put I'll put a counter on her, and she flies this turn. Airball, draw another card.
Yes, sir.
And I will draw 2. I'll play a Thriving Grove as my land for turn. I will choose blue. And let's go to combat. I'm gonna send this Flying Coiling Oracle at Maldhound and Miss Bumbleflower at Airball, because I don't think you're blocking.
Yeah, I'll take the 6.
I will take the 2.
I'll pass turn.
No, you won't. I sacrifice Sakura Tribe Elder. I am going to first request that everyone be super normal about the turn that I'm about to take. I'm going to then tap 4, 5, 6 for the enchantment, Sunbird's Invocation. Whenever I cast a spell from my hand, I reveal the top X cards of my library, where X is that spell's mana value, and I may cast a spell with mana value X or less from among the cards revealed this way without paying its mana cost, and then the rest go to the bottom of my library in a random order.
In response,
Gotcha.
I'm gonna activate Queen. Everybody draw a card.
Sick.
I'm gonna decline.
Notably, Sunbird's Invocation will also trigger Expend 4, so I'll get a 1/1 counter. And I just want to be clear to everybody, I have a 2-mana 6/6 because I've been playing around this condition. This is not an incidental thing that I would have done no matter what. I am not double dipping on value for no reason. This is intentional that I have a 2-mana 6/6. Anyway, I'm going to cast Decimate. So this is a 4-mana sorcery that says destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land, and I do need legal choices for all my targets. So the creature I'm worried about is Zulaport Cutthroat. The artifact I'm worried about is Veggie's Arcane Signet. The enchantment, there's really not a lot. The enchantment I'm worried about is Communal Brewing, and the land I'm worried about is...
I will kick you in the shins.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
I will murder you in your sleep.
Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, she misplayed by not realizing I had land destruction. I mean, I got it. I'm gonna target Tranquil Thicket. That Decimate has really calmed things down. I think it'll take NerdGirl at least a quarter of a turn to rebuild from that, so I have a little bit of time to get something going with my Sunbird's Invocation. Because no other land. I was gonna target Evolving Wilds, and then I was looking around, I was like, does anything else even make remote sense? But before that actually goes through. So I'm gonna reveal 4 cards from the top of my library, and I can cast a spell that costs 4 or less. So it's Greater Good, a Mountain, a land, and a Chaos Warp. So I can cast either the Greater Good or the Chaos Warp with this trigger. I don't think I'm feeling hateful enough to need more removal at this time, but I would love a card draw enchantment. So I am going to cast the Greater Good for free and move these 3 to the bottom of my library. Greater Good says sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and then discard 3 cards. And then for my final trick, I am going to cast the Keen-Eyed Curator, a 2-mana Raccoon Scout that is a 3/3 that says as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards exiled with Keen-Eyed Curator, it gets +4/+4 and has trample. But how would I exile cards with it? For 1 colorless mana, I can exile a card from a graveyard. And what do I have? 1 mana open. Don't recur anything. I pass.
All right, Forest is my land for turn.
Oh, see, you were fine.
All right, let's start with 2. For an Idol of Oblivion. I can tap it to draw a card. I can only activate it if I've created a token this turn. I can also pay 8, sacrifice it, and make a 10/10. I will pay 2 life and tap all of my squirrels to cast Moldhound Reclamation. Whenever a creature I control dies, I get to gain a life and draw a card. And then I will pay 4 for Hazel's Brewmaster, a 3/4 with Menace. That says when it enters or attacks, I get to exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and create a food token. Foods I control have the activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Hazel. So I get a food, and I get to exile something from someone's graveyard. Anybody have any creatures with activated abilities?
There's Sakura Tribe Elder, which I believe...
That's kind of hot.
Yeah. Gimme.
In response, I tap 1 and I exile Sakura Tribe Elder from my own graveyard with Keen-Eyed Curator.
That's okay. That's still pretty good. I will move to my end step. Hazel is going to trigger. I'm going to choose to copy my food token. And before my end step, I will also use the Idol to draw a card. After that resolves, Hazel is a Squirrel Warlock, will actually trigger the Dry Leader, as will the food. So I'll get an additional 3 counters on the Dry Leader. And that'll be my turn.
On your end step, I'm going to crack the Evolving Wilds. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go to combat. I'm going to declare the Loyal Warhound as attacking NerdGirl, and Zinnia is going to come in at Veggie. Going to get an Echoing Assault trigger. I'm going to copy Loyal Warhound, because copying Zinnia doesn't really achieve all that much. That will trigger, but do nothing, because Veggie controls the same number of lands as I do, and we'll go to blocks.
But I can't stop it.
Okay, so I'm gonna play this Rockface Village as my land for turn. I can tap it to add red mana, but only to cast a creature spell. And red in a tap, I can give a lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon I control haste and +1/+0 until end of turn as a sorcery. So main phase 2, I'm gonna tap 5, and I'll play this Cloud Blazer without paying its offspring cost. It's a 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, I gain 2 life and draw 2 cards.
Can't help but notice you had the mana to pay its offspring cost.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's true, I can't count.
Okay, I'll move to my end step. I'll sacrifice this copy of Loyal Warhound, and then if there are no other effects, I have to discard to hand size. I'll discard Spirited Companion and 3 lands.
This episode's just gonna end in a brawl. The life totals aren't even gonna hit 0. We're just gonna climb over the table.
I'm gonna pay 3 for Narset Parter of Veils. I can -2 to look at the top 4 cards in my library. You can reveal a non-creature, non-land from among them and put it into your hand. And then I put the rest on the bottom of my library in a random order. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. That is going to trigger Miss Bumbleflower. So somebody's gonna draw a card. Airball, draw a card. I'll put a counter onto, I guess, herself. Flies this turn. I am going to -2 Narset to look at the top 4. My only option here is this Season of the Burrow. I'm gonna activate Queen. Everybody draw a card.
Well,
Except me.
Except for Airball.
I decline.
I'm going to play this Sun Petal Grove as my land for turn. I will pay 1 for a Soul Ring, and NerdGirl, you can draw a card if you're able to. And then I will draw 2, and I'll put a counter onto Jeff Bezos. And then that spell just looks so cool. So let's play that. I'm gonna pay 5 for Season of the Burrow. So specifically, I can choose up to 5 paw prints worth of modes. I can choose the same mode more than once. For 1 paw print, create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. For 2 paw prints, exile target non-land permanent, its controller draws a card. And for 3 paw prints, return target permanent with the mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it. I'm gonna get rid of Sunbird's Invocation. It is exiled, but you get to draw a card.
Shut up, I hate you.
And then I'm gonna return Communal Brewing.
Ha! Cope and seethe, Veggie.
What does it say?
What's it say?
Yeah, read it for us. Read it for us.
It's a new card, I'm not familiar.
Man.
Well, now that I'm reading it correctly for the first time, I'll at least get a little bit out of it because I should also put one on it inherently. But yeah, you can each draw a card, and then I'll put ingredient counters on it equal to the number of cards drawn this way, plus an additional one. I might have gotten a little carried away, but at least I can say that I'm probably the first Magic player to ever have a Narset that was a disadvantage for me.
Oh, I can't, sorry.
And one more because of that last spell. So we'll put it on the Jolly Gerbils. So those all fly. Okay, well, I'm gonna hit some people. I will send Miss Bumbleflower at Airball, Beza at Maldhound, and Jolly Gerbils at NerdGirl.
Well,
No blocks, I take 6.
yeah, I am contractually obligated to take my 8.
Pass turn.
I'm gonna play a land for turn. I am going to spend 5 mana and recast Bellow, Bard of the Brambles. So my enchantments and artifacts, well, the expensive ones are once again 4/4s. I will hit expend 4 again, bringing Wandertail up to a 7/7. From here, I'm going to spend 5 more mana for Dragonhawk, Fate's Tempest. They are a 5/5 flyer. Whenever they enter or attack, I exile the top X cards of my library, where X is the number of creatures I control with power 4 or greater, and I can cast all of them for free. That's a lie. I can play them until the next end step, but I have to pay for them. At the beginning of that end step, Dragonhawk will deal 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled. So right now, I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that have power 4 or greater, so we're gonna exile 5 cards. Alchemist Talent, Muera, Trash Tactician, a land, and Thrawn Dynamo. Now, for those of you keeping track at home, I can play none of these. I tapped out to do this. So I'm just guaranteeing damage with Dragonhawk. We all want this Narset gone, right?
I agree.
Can we be friends for 1 round if I swing out to try to help deal with it?
I've been friends. I have not touched a single person. I have not gone to combat
wrong.
once. I'm just playing with my squirrels over here.
I'm not gonna promise friendship. We are good time girls.
We're best time boys
Yeah.
and good time girlies. How is that? All right. I'm gonna move to combat. I'm going to swing Greater Good, Berserker's Onslaught, Gilded Lotus, the Elephant, and the Wandertail Mentor, all at Narset. Remember my sacrifice.
Well, I guess I'll put Miss Bumbleflower in front of the Wandertail Mentor. So yeah.
All right, Wandertail Mentor will die. His sacrifice will not be in vain, as the table can once again draw cards, and I will pass from there.
I kind of wish Maldhound had left Narset alive, because even though it hurts him and me, it hurts NerdGirl way more. She has Moldervine Reclamation in play, so if someone were to maybe wipe the board, she wouldn't get to draw any cards off of it with Narset in play, or at least only draw 1. But I can't tell him that without letting him know that a board wipe is coming, and then he might attack me instead. So what am I to do?
Oh, and everyone will take 10 damage
Whoa!
from Dragonhawk.
Land for turn will be a Viridescent Bog. I feel like I just lose the game if I don't try, so I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna tap 5, and I'm gonna cast Swarmyard Massacre. I'm gonna create 2 squirrels, and then each creature that isn't an insect, a rat, a spider, or a squirrel will get -1/-1 for each of those things that I control. Okay, then I will make 2 more squirrels that will be Summoning Sick, and then everybody will take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, -10, 10 to all things on the board that are not these things.
Oh my god, you don't even kill Miss Bumbleflower.
I know, but I don't kill any of your enchantments either. I did have 2 squirrels enter the battlefield, so we're gonna go up to 11 here. I'm gonna go to combat, and I'm going to attack Veggie for just 12, 13, 14, 15. When I attack, I'll get to make another food token. I'll get to exile a creature, ideally with a activated ability from a graveyard. So I'm going to exile the Tender Wild Guide, so all of my foods can tap for mana now. And when I did get a food, this will go up to 12. So now your new total is 13, 16.
Okay, well, one of those is Menace and one of them Tramples, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll just eat the 16.
And then I'm gonna do my big mistake and show you guys my 2-drop squirrel, which would have killed Miss Bumbleflower, but I didn't count first. So this says I can tap it, and until end of turn, I can recast creature spells from my graveyard with paying an additional foraging cost. If I do, the creature enters the battlefield with a finality counter on it. I did make a token, so I'll go ahead and activate the Idol of Oblivion and draw a card. And I'll move to my end step, and I will go ahead and have Hazel target the squirrel, giving me 2 additional squirrels, putting me to 7, making a 14 for my thick squirrel. I'll pass turn.
I'm gonna pay 4. I'm gonna cast Dusk. Destroy all creatures of power 3 or greater.
Oh.
Okay.
I've got no responses, so I will lose 3 creatures. I will trigger the Moldervine though, so I'll gain 3, draw 3.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Losing my 3 biggest creatures, including the Brewmaster, was rough, but I did get to draw some cards, and what's in my hand focuses a lot more on my wide side of the board more than my big creatures.
Then I'm going to pay 4 for a Gate Instigator with its offspring cost. When another creature I control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Come on.
So offspring's gonna trigger, we're going to get a copy. That copy will trigger the first Agate Instigator. Everyone's going to get domed for 1.
Oh no, 3% of my life total. I'm fine.
And that's it. Pass.
How are you, buddy?
Here's what I got.
All right. I pay 4 life and go out on my own terms.
I'm gonna play an island, then I'm gonna pay 4 for Mangara the Diplomat. It's a 2/4 with lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking me, then I draw a card. And whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, I draw a card. Mangara will come in with a counter.
Nice, extra lifelink.
Yeah. I'm also gonna play a Secret Rendezvous.
Okay.
Would you like to run away with me?
I would love to.
Please draw 3 cards.
Okay, well these 3 weren't it, but that gets us closer to me finding the ones that are it.
Yeah, those were also not it. Pass.
All right. I'm going to tap 5 for Grothama All-Devouring. It's a 10/8 that says other creatures have, whenever this creature attacks, you may have it fight Grothama All-Devouring. When it leaves the battlefield, each player draws cards equal to the amount of damage dealt to Grothama this turn by sources they controlled. So the perfect world was going to be to have one of my enchantments attack it and then sacrifice it to greater good, drawing me 14 cards, but I can't do that because I'm going to need the mana to deal with you. So I'm going to immediately sacrifice it to greater good. I will draw cards equal to its power, which is 10, and then I will discard 3.
I just have baby squirrels.
I'll play a mountain for turn. I will pay 1 and sacrifice the Mind Stone to draw 1 more, just in case. I didn't think it could get worse. It got worse. It got worse. I'm just gonna show, I drew this, and I just played my land. I just played that mountain. This turn is quickly dropping down in the power rankings of best turns of my life. I'm gonna tap the rest of my mana for Tender Shoot Dryad, which is a 2/2. At the beginning of each upkeep, I make a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. Sapperlings I control get +2/+2 as long as I have the city's blessing, which means if I have 10 or more permanents, which I do have. So each upkeep, I'll make a 3/3, which may slow down my ability to get murdered by Nerd Girl, but will not solve any of my immediate problems. And I'm gonna start discarding to hand size.
That is your second spell, so I will draw a card.
You got it, buddy. Yay.
Hooray.
I did it.
You did it.
I pass.
Swamp for turn. Veggie have the answer.
Rarely.
We're gonna cast the Insatiable Frugivore, a 2/4 that when he enters, I get to create a food token. Then I may exile 3 cards from my graveyard and repeat this process. I can also pay 4 to sacrifice X foods, and creatures I control get +X/+0 and gain menace until end of turn.
Oh, we're so
Pretty
cooked.
screwed.
So you got it? You have it?
I'm tapped out.
Veggie slow roll on the answer.
I will pass on this. I cannot stop it.
I will make a food, and then I will exile 3 cards, and I will make a food. Veggie can't Cyclonic Rift or anything, so yeah. I'll also exile these 3, including my Zulaport. Give me an extra. And then I'll pay 4 to sacrifice all of my food tokens, giving all of my creatures +6/+0 and menace until end of turn.
Yeah.
I can't kill everybody this turn, but I can get pretty darn close. And I'm also fairly sure they won't be able to stop me from mopping it up on my next turn. All right, I'm gonna go into combat like this. I'm gonna send 2 things at Veggie, 6 at Maldhound, and 2 squirrels at Airball.
Okay, so first that will trigger Mangara. I'll get to draw a card because you attacked me with 2 creatures.
Oh, that's right.
I have no effects.
No effects.
All right. I sacrifice this sapperling to greater good. I draw 3 cards. I discard them. I sacrifice Tender Shoot Dryad to greater good. I draw 2 cards. I discard them. And a random thing. I'm dead.
Excellent.
Well, blocks, though?
No blocks.
No blocks.
Great. I'm gonna pay 4.
Yes!
Oh, it's not good for you.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Is the wreckage getting settled?
I'm gonna play Illusionist Gambit. Cast this spell only during the declare blocker step of an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat if able. They can't attack you or planeswalkers you control that combat.
So that means Maldhound is gonna get 5 squirrels, and that means Airball is going to get the rest of the squirrels now.
I'm absolutely heartbroken. When Nerd Girl attacked, it looked like I was going to be able to keep my 2 Agate Instigators. But when Veggie cast his spell to rewind the combat step, and Maldhound had already sacrificed his creatures, all of a sudden Nerd Girl gets to hit me a little bit harder, I have to throw my creatures away, and I don't know that I can come back from that. I got screwed real good. Okay, 2 of them jump under one of the squirrels.
One of my squirrels will die from Airball's blocks. I will gain a life and draw a card from Moldervine. And then Maldhound takes 5 squirrels.
Yes. And this is why you always land destruction the token player. Don't let them play Magic. This is what happens. You die, and your knees crack a lot for no reason.
I did make a token this turn, so in my second main, I will use the idol to draw a card. I'm gonna move to discard.
Good time, girlies?
I think we are required by law to be good time girlies right now.
Okay, I think this is where we're at. I'm gonna play this Addarkar Wastes as my land for turn, and I'm gonna pay 4 for a Rose Room Treasurer. It is a 4/3 with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters, create a treasure token if this is the first or second time the ability is resolved. Otherwise, I pay X, and when I do, I can deal X damage to any target. And I think if Nerd Girl's able to give her board Menace, we are all well and truly screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you can't deal with that. I'm hoping that you can maybe deal with some of the squirrels.
Sure.
Sure.
He'll hug them to death.
We'll at least get to show off Shield Broker is a 3/4. When it enters, put a shield counter on target non-commander creature I don't control. I gain control of it for as long as it has a shield counter. When it enters, I'm going to get a Rose Room trigger. I'll get a treasure. And I will steal the Frugivore.
And that is your second spell of the turn, so I'll draw a card. This will definitely be the answer that we need. It's an island.
Pass.
It's the next one, don't worry.
Okay. We'll play a forest for turn. I'm gonna start by paying 4 for a Forgotten Ancient. When a player casts a spell, I can put a +1/+1 counter on it, and at my upkeep, I can move any number of counters on it to other creatures. I'm going to pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a Colonian Hydra. Enters with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, has trample, and when it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So that's gonna come in with 4 + 1 more from the Communal Brewing. The Forgotten Ancient should also have 1. And it will get 1 more from casting that spell. Then I'm gonna pay 2 for the Swiftfoot Boots.
Nice.
To give a creature hexproof and haste. That will put another counter on Forgotten Ancient. We'll pay 1 to equip the Colonian Hydra. And let's go to combat. Nerdgirl, I'm going to send you those 2 creatures. The Colonian Hydra will trigger on attack and double the number of +1/+1 counters on all of my stuff. So the Ancient will go to 6, we'll put 1 more on Mangara, and this will go to 10.
No blocks.
Okay, and I will gain 4. All right, we did it. Pass the turn.
Can their 1 mana each stop me from killing them? I think the answer is no. Well, let's start with a Tainted Wood. I'll pay 4 for a Poison Tip Archer. A 2/3 with Reach and Death Touch, and whenever another creature dies, each opponent will lose a life.
Okay.
I'll put a counter on my Forgotten Ancient.
You know, I don't think either of you have any way to interact with this, so I'm going to just cast Woe Strider, which is a sack outlet for all of my tiny squirrels to put them straight into the meat grinder. It's going to come into play with a goat. And I'm going to present 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sack damage.
Veggie will draw 1. As well as Strider's on the stack.
Right, yeah, your second spell, so I'll put a counter on the Forgotten Ancient. I will draw this card that solves all of our problems. It's a Prairie Stream.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and sack my goat and my squirrels to the Woe Strider, triggering the Poison Tip Archer for 8 total damage.
Okay, I'm gonna pay 1 and take 8.
Woo!
Me too.
The squirrels win the day.
Who run the world? Squirrels.
I think we include that dead man as the wizard's reaction. Who run the world? Squirrels.
Yes, squirrels take the day. It shows you how powerful cards like Insatiable Frugivore can be. I almost won the last game with it if it wasn't for Maldhound killing it at instant speed, but this time they didn't have an answer and we got the win. Special thank you again to today's episode sponsor, Elgato.
Yes, I had not really thought about what I was going to say here, but Elgato.
Special thank you to today's episode sponsor, Elgato.
If your cat is by the computer, make sure that they hit the mouse click onto the thing in the description so that they know that we sent you.
How many lands do you have, Nerd Girl?
Oh, did you miss like a land drop at some point?
Oh, she cycled that thicket earlier.
Oh, yep.
Right, yeah.
Frankly, I can't imagine why Veggie would prioritize removing Sunbird's Invocation over potentially getting 2 1/1s. With his commander, those could become 2 2s. I think he really needs to go back to his fundamentals and just let me win next time.
One of the easiest ways to support the show without really changing anything for anyone is by getting any of your Magic card singles from Tales of Adventure. They have an incredible selection of both your most basic versions of the cards all the way up to the most premium versions.
I also hear they have excellent jingles. So if you guys would like to support us, make sure you guys head on over to Tales of Adventure or TOA. You can find a link and a discount code for 5% off down below in the description. Question is will Maldhound die of bad jokes first or of me killing him?
Or osteoporosis.
Yeah, no.
Well, at the end of the day, I just didn't have an answer to NerdGirl's aristocrat effects. Usually this deck defends itself by putting a bunch of tokens in the way, and her deck just doesn't care about that. I still don't think I played the game particularly well, and I think it's important to be able to look back at your mistakes, because as it turns out, the real answers, the best plays, were Zinnia all along.
Moxfield is the best deck list site available. It has everything you need to customize, compare, and collaborate. View and brew the way that works for you. Moxfield is the only way that we can track and share all of our spiciest builds here on the show, and whatever Veggie is playing. Make sure to follow our Moxfield profile in the link in the description.
You've been hitting me every turn, and I've been nice to you. Can
That's
I?
not true.
Yes.
I mean, look at the commander damage. That's empirically not
Yeah, you've been hitting me with these things.
Sure.
Can I hit you for 3?
What do I get?
Hit for 3.
I was so close to eliminating NerdGirl on that final turn, but all of the incidental poke damage from Airball early in the game made it impossible for me to stabilize. Sometimes you bumble flower, and sometimes the flower bumbles you.
Ultimate Guard is the industry leader in TCG accessories. We love their stuff, and we know you will too. In fact, every single playmat, sleeve, or deck box featured on this show is an Ultimate Guard product. So make sure to use the link in the description to support our channel and treat yourself to some amazing upgrades.
To wrap things up, we'd like to thank our patrons. Without your support, this episode would not be possible.
And it is specifically because of patrons like you, Susan, that we are able to keep this show weekly. Thank you so much for that.
If you would like to become a part of the team, make sure you head on over to our Patreon, where you can unlock exclusive perks, monthly signed tokens, spell table games with us, even have your deck list featured here on the show.
And as always, Susan, you can support the show by clicking like and subscribe. That's all we've got for you for today. We'll see you next time on
Decked Out.